Hello there. Thanks for joining us. You are very welcome to the very first Blog on You Gunners post-match review, where we'll be going through just a few quick things that we picked up from the Molde game that really stood out for us. This is the first in what will become a regular feature for us, and we hope you enjoy. If you disagree, if you agree, be sure to leave a like, be sure to leave a comment, subscribe, reject, refuse, turn off, turn on, whatever you want to do. Be sure to chip in. If you've got some questions, we're happy to pick those up. Leave them in the comments box down below. I hope you enjoy. When we start any discussion about this game, we have to talk about Joe Willock and the impact he's had, particularly this season and in the last couple of Europa League games especially. Thrown into the mix along with a lot of other Hale End Academy products. He has excelled, to be honest. He has provided this team with something it's not had for quite a while, since the days of Aaron Ramsey, in terms of his running, his directness, his willingness to get into spaces, to surge into the box, to play a pass. It's different. And in terms of breaking down deep blocks, is exactly what we need. And against Molde last night, he was at it again. He was influential in all the right areas at the top end of the pitch. And that's not forgetting that there's still a lot more to come from him. He can develop into a much better player, into a player even better than he is now. And that's really encouraging. There was a lot to like about his performance, and the goal was the perfect reward for all the effort he put in. He was brilliant and is making it really difficult for Mikel. How much longer does he keep him out of the team? How much longer does he persist with the midfield that he has, the tried and trusted options, before he starts to look to Joe and say, this guy's not giving me an option anymore. I've got to at least include him. He's not made the last couple of matchday squads, which has raised a few eyebrows, but I think he's knocking on the door now. So much so that it's difficult really to continue to ignore it. And he's closer, I would say, than any of his other Hale End colleagues at the moment. I know a lot of them have suffered misfortunes, but he's doing well. He keeps scoring goals, he keeps getting in the right areas, and long may it continue. The next thing I want to talk about is attacking options and productivity. We saw, certainly in the few games leading up to Manchester United, and maybe even in the United game itself, that we were really stodgy in midfield, getting bogged down with getting the ball forward, failing to find a link between defence, midfield and attack. That was perfectly illustrated in the Leicester game, where David Luiz was having to do the lion's share of getting the ball forward simply because the midfield was too focused perhaps on defence and unable to really make an impact, while those in front of them weren't making the runs needed in order to carve open the Leicester defence, and that wasn't an uncommon theme from games prior to that. So what we saw in the Manchester United game, and certainly the game since then, is a greater emphasis on creativity, and that was much in evidence against Molde last night. The runners from midfield, led, as we've said before, by Willock, were willing to get into spaces, were willing to give the midfielders options, and the midfielders were looking to get forward. They weren't sitting deep, they weren't getting bogged down, and they were passing quickly. So often we've found that the ball's slow, it goes in that dreaded horseshoe shape around the area, and it's pretty easy to repel, leading in the end to something like what Tielemans did, picking up the ball, beating the press, and just sending Vardy through for the horribly inevitable and crushing late winner. For the most part, Molde didn't try to sit too deeply, but when they did, it still didn't prove too much of a problem. I think Arsenal were a class above Molde, if not two, and that was always going to tell. But what they were able to do in this game was create much more. There were no shortage of chances, in truth, and that was good to see, and I hope it's something they can take forward into games against better opposition, because that's going to be the case in the Premier League. They're going to be better than Molde, they're going to be better than Dundalk, and they're going to take some breaking down. So creating more and being better in the final third, to go with the improvement defensively, because there has been a massive improvement defensively, is going to be crucial. So good to see last night, and hopefully that cracks on into the coming games. I want to talk Pepe and Willian. They variously took a good deal of stick, I think it's fair to say, and have done for a number of weeks, for the perceptions of their performance. Willian in particular has come in for a lot of criticism, while Pepe either delights or despairs. I think it's fair to say among people that watch him, because of what they do, because of their perceived wastefulness, maybe perceived lack of impact. I think less so in Pepe's case, because he has a tendency to let the game drift past him, or frustrate by losing possession or running into a blind alley, and then coming up with something spectacular, as he has done fairly regularly. But Willian has faced a bit of a backlash because of the lack of goals and assists that have come with what people perceive to be strolling through games. I don't know. But I think in their defence, they're not quite so missing from the games as the perception would seem to suggest. I think Willian in particular is a smart player. He's an experienced player. He's been there. He's seen it. He's won it. And I think he knows when to expend energy and when not to. A great deal has been made of the length of the contract that was given to him in the summer, and the terms of that deal. And that's a separate discussion. But I think if we assume that he is professional, he is widely experienced and committed to Arteta's project, or else why would he be part of the team? I think Mikel has shown that if you're not on board 100%, you don't make the squad. And one thing you can say for Willian is that he makes squads, he makes teams, and he performs okay. He's not tearing down walls, but I don't think he ever has been that sort of player. He has been a worker, a grafter, a provider, and occasional match winner. And I think he'll continue to be that at 32. I don't think that changes. And as for Pepe, perhaps we have to accept that what he is a deliverer in big moments, a performer in 5 or 10 minute periods, as opposed to 90-minute periods. Some players can do that, can sustain that level. Some players pop up here and there. So far in his career, Pepe has been the latter of those. Does that make him a bad player? No. Does that make him a £72 million player? Probably not. But I think it's just as much about learning to get the best out of him and learning where he is best, as it is about managing expectations and deciding what it is we want from him. You know, he's not Messi, he's not Ronaldo, he doesn't pretend to be, but he hits a ball. He hits a really good ball, as he's shown consistently, and an assist and a goal again last night was a pretty good return. So there you have it. Those are our 3 key things that we picked up from the Molde game. I want to thank you for listening along. And if you like what you've heard today, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Stay tuned, because we will be doing more of this. We will be doing more previews, more post-match. And apart from that, you can find us on our social channels, on Twitter and on Facebook, searching Blog on You Gunners. And we're also on WordPress with a regular blog. Stay tuned, and thanks a lot for listening.